The Prowler Part 3. The date is September 22nd. I woke up this morning feeling full of life. A rejuvenation, you might say, took place last night with my doing away with that tabloid filth peddler. As I laid in bed, I read the morning edition that James had fetched for me. I was very eager to see what they had to say regarding my latest excursion. The headline was quite catching. Sadistic Prowler slains 2, including our own Mr. Barker. Early in the morning hours, at Constable Howard Shardsborough, a 10-year veteran of Her Majesty's Police, happened upon the body of our own beloved columnist, Mr. Reginald Barker, on the corner of Charing Cross Road, not far from the previous night's murders on Denmark Street. Also further down the street, the body of Duncan Hughes, an elderly lamplighter, was found, his throat having been severed. Sadly, the demise of our Mr. Barker was reportedly quite gruesome. Besides multiple blows to the head, he also received multiple puncture wounds in the spleen area of the body, and his tongue and fingers were removed, supposedly trying to relay some sick message. On a personal note, and on behalf of my editors and all employees at the London Journal, would like to wholeheartedly express our deepest condolences to Reginald's family and friends. He was taken far too soon by some depraved lunatic for just doing his job. Reginald was an excellent investigative columnist, killed while performing his duties trying to expose and bring a killer to justice. I, for one, am grateful for his service, and I only hope to be half as capable as he was. Funeral services will be held on Friday. Please check the societal section for further details. I will now take over the duties of covering the Prowler story from here on out, and I will stay diligent and at times hard-pressed when I feel is warranted towards Scotland Yard and West End officials until the apprehension of this madman. Below, we are printing a letter we received this morning at our front desk, supposedly written by the Prowler himself. As you can see, he is taunting you, Scotland Yard. Please, I and the citizens of the West End beg you, bring this butcher to justice. The body count is rising. Until tomorrow, readers, please stay safe out there. Signed, Parker Johns. I'm trying to compose myself. It's too early to be this livid, but how can I not, after reading such filth? Did these smug bastards not pay attention to my letter? Did I not make it absolutely clear I wanted someone professional writing of my exploits? How in the hell was any of what I just read from this Parker Johns professional? These smug pricks at the London Journal have a rude awakening in store for them. And as for this Parker Johns, you're not off to a very promising start. Keep writing pieces like this, and writer number 3 will be covering my exploits. Your days are numbered. I'm filled with such a rage at the moment I cannot shake. Some poor soul is going to pay for it tonight. I finished my morning cup of tea and my last remaining bites of my proper English breakfast that James prepared, then got dressed to start my day. I further spent the next hour secluded in my study, maintaining the instruments of death in my murder kit. The surgical knife needed quite the scrub after 3 nights' worth of carnage. I could feel the blade start to dull. Disposing of Mr. Barker took a little extra effort on my part. I would like it to cut much smoother through my next victim. I don't have all night hacking away on someone, after all. After that task was accomplished, it was time for me to fulfill my familial duties. I had multiple charitable events to attend, culminating in a luncheon with the ladies of Rushington House, a group of high society women that run shelters all across London. The day dragged. Event after event, I felt myself slowly drifting into madness. I tried to sit back and survey my surroundings, trying to linger in the corner and potentially spot my next victim, but it never failed. Always, there was some keg-shaped trollop stylized lady. This, or countless, trying to divert my killer's gaze. By the luncheon, my head was spinning. If I had to sit there and listen to any more mindless high societal drivel, I was going to vomit, or reach over and strangle the next madam who spoke to me. If only they knew what I was thinking as I sat there pretending to listen to them ramble on about the taste of their cucumber sandwich, or the temperature of their tea, or the size of their estate compared to the others. Just boring nonsense. If they only knew I was picking my next prey. I was the lion, and that room was the field, and they were the gazelle, unsuspecting and weak, and I found my prey. A couple of tasty morsels, a Lady Elizabeth Shackelford, daughter of Lord Arthur Shackelford, the shipping tycoon, and a Countess, Julia Chasterley, wife of Count Woodward Chasterley. So there I sat smiling and unassuming, just a proper gentleman from the outside, heir to the seat of one of the oldest, more powerful families in all of the realm, fantasizing of my next kill on the inside. After sitting through a few more insufferable rounds of chit-chat, I decided to take my leave, and just as I was about to make my way out, I was tapped on the shoulder. Who dares to touch me? I thought, as a spark of rage burned through my body like an unstoppable wildfire. I quickly turned, and to my surprise, stood Lady Elizabeth Shackelford, one of the morsels I picked earlier to be my next victim. It can't be this easy, I devilishly thought. She had a sheepish smile across her face, and before I could utter a word, she was inviting me to one of her father's lavish parties that was taking place later on that very evening. She proceeded to inform me the party would be costumed. I momentarily thought it was quite forward for a woman of her stature to be so forward in her pursuits, but I quickly brushed that thought aside and accepted her invitation. I said my farewells to the ladies and made my way to the carriage, where we proceeded straight to the manor. I had a costume party to prepare for, after all. I spent the time thinking, as I was getting ready, at how easy Elizabeth was making it for me. No stalking her movements, hoping to catch her out alone, which I'm sure would be next to impossible, or not having to find a way to break into her stately manor and try and sneak past her servants and family. This is just too perfect. I'm in disguise. I can move in and out without anyone knowing who I am. I just slip in, give her a taste of my blade, procure a trophy, and be gone before someone says, "Bob's your uncle." I put on my black suit with matching black tie, grab my cloak and top hat, and my skeleton mask and black bag. Tonight, I bring death, so I shall go as death, the doctor of death, and I do make house calls. After about an hour's ride, James dropped me off in the carriage, which I told him to keep close by. I then made my way inside, handed the doorman my invitation, which thankfully didn't have our names engraved on them, and began the search for Elizabeth. I noticed her from a distance, walking away from the refreshment table with a glass of spirits in her hand, walking towards the balcony. Alone. I stayed back, stalking her from the crowd. She mingled with a few of her father's guests for just a moment, then made her way out onto the balcony. I followed, making my way to her, trying not to attract attention to myself. I gently closed the door behind me and walked up behind her, whispering in her ear. "It's me," I said softly. Her ears perked up. She knew it was me. She said half-jokingly, "I'm glad you made it, but don't sneak up on me like that, please. I thought you could have been that barbarian that calls himself the Prowler." I looked down at her and flashed her a sinister grin. "But I am the Prowler, dearie." I said with a stern, raspy tone. She stepped back, trembling slightly, as I grazed her arm with my fingertips. I grabbed her forearm tightly and pulled out my surgical knife. I then spun her around and placed my hand over her mouth, just in case her screams could be overheard by the party guests. You can never be too careful after all. I then whispered in her ear to be quiet now. Stay still. This won't hurt a bit. As I said that, I cut her throat. She slumped to her knees, gargling and choking on her own blood. And as she did, I collected my trophies. I hollowed out her insides, keeping the choice parts for myself, only leaving her intestines, which I used to wrap around her neck, and a rail on the balcony, then threw her over the side, hanging with her own bowels. I quickly packed my things and made it out of the party and back to the carriage undetected. I sat in the dark, inside of my carriage, on my way back to the manor thinking of what just transpired. I definitely made a statement tonight. Wait till tomorrow. Wait till the world sees what I've done. Now they'll know that no one is safe. I would like to give a heartfelt thank you to the special friends of the channel. Your generosity means the world to me. If you would like to support the channel, the link is below in the description. Also, please send me your stories to duchessofdarkness27@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram at duchess.ofdarkness or Twitter at duchessofdarkn2. I want to thank you all for your support, your kindness, and your encouragement. I appreciate it so very much. Until next time.